Everybody, we are live again here for Angelic Summit 2022. I am your host, Stephanie Lodge, hugging you in this moment because I'm the hug angel. That's what I do. But also, I'm bringing in probably another fellow hugaholic, my friend Alexander Mazzone, and fellow Seraphim Source co-host. And hi, Alexander.
Hi.
Welcome to Angelic Summit.
Thanks for having me.
I'm so glad you're here. I want to introduce you to those here in this angelhood, so they get to know who you are a little bit, and we'll get going here. So Alexander Mazzone is here really to aid and assist in the ascension of this planet, which of course makes sense as to why I asked him to be one of the guardians of light for this summit. It is his utmost pleasure to be able to assist all individuals in their ascension process by being of service with his wide array of specialties. Rest assured that he is working diligently every day as he continues learning mystical information to help his fellow divine spiritual light workers ascend with most grace and ease, let's say that, right? He was trained by the late master Constance Ouellette. Did I pronounce that right, hopefully? From Bristol, Rhode Island, who initiated him as a 6th generation Reiki master. She also taught him advanced tarot, sacred numerology, astrology, magic, and many other spiritual techniques which have helped him grow in the being of service that he is today. And you can find him at galactictarot.com and his beautiful crystal currents, which we'll talk about a little bit later, at crystalcurrent.com, and I'll give you all the links momentarily. Welcome again, Alexander. How are you?
I'm awesome. Thanks for having me.
I'm so glad you're here. So I just want to share a little story to get you started off, because I know your stories will be fantastic too. But when you and I met, I remember one of those things that happened. And you're like, "Oh, you're Seraphim," and I was like, "Yeah, I am." And how did you know? And it was this whole thing. But I want to ask you. This is about Seraphim Source. This is about the Seraphim and their connection to Source God, I guess you could say. But what is your way of discerning, like, what kind of angels people are running in their instruments? Let's just start there.
Well, I think the whole process is an ascension process in itself through our angelhood. Just from what I've seen from like the very beginning of my awakening process, and maybe not the very, very beginning, but I would say in the earlier parts of my awakening process, when I go way back then, over a decade ago now, it was me reading this book from my teacher. After she passed, she wanted me to read a book, and actually I want to pop up a picture of her because she's just so precious, and we have screen share. So what do I click this button? Screen share.
Constance. What was her last name again?
Ouellette. Mm-hmm. Can people see that?
I think it still has to come up.
Okay.
It's the little black button. You have to hit you have to hit on the image, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Right. While he's doing that, I'm drinking my dragon.
I see it. Window there. Okay, share. I got it. Can you see her? She's so sweet.
Here she comes. There she is.
Yeah, she's so precious.
Oh, I love her.
I miss her.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the very room. That's the very room where I was attuned in that little yellow chair you see right there. That's where I got my first couple Reiki attunements, and what set me up with being out here even in general. What got me out here and just these miracles in general, like that. I mean, even those stories were complete full-blown miracles. When I first got my, I went to see a medium. The woman's name was Donna, and she was so on point. Like the stuff she told me to bring a voice recorder and record the session. And after the third time listening to the session, because my mind was completely blown, she said at the very end of it, and this is all the way in 2009 now, and I'm on the East Coast in Rhode Island between New York and Boston. It wasn't the most spiritual place in 2009. But she says to me, I love helping God's other divine spiritual light workers. And my brain didn't register what she was saying in person. The first time listening to the recording, and then on the third time, I experienced this process, but I'm listening to the recording a second time. I go, wait a minute, what does that mean? What's a light worker? And that brought me to a test that when I did the information on the test, it had like these 3 options. And the questions were so weird. It was like, do people's cats jump on your lap and the owner gets jealous and they say, my cat doesn't do that with me? It was like literally like the questions I answered. I was like, yeah. It was like all like really strange stuff that happened to me growing up, and just, you know, being an angelic, not knowing I was one. So one of the things on the list, the number 2, I don't remember number 1 and number 3 of what to do next when you find out you're a light worker, was, which that terminology doesn't even really exist anymore for me. But it said to research doing Reiki. So I contact the internet once again, and that's how I found Connie. That's how I found the Magic Mirror, her shop, and her. And I go, like, let me just go by there and see this person. So when I walked in, she looks at me with that like twinkle that you see in her eyes. And I'm sorry that photo's so blurry. It's an old photo screenshotted. But I go and see her, and the second I walk in the door, she goes, "Oh, you're here finally." And I'm just like I'm looking around me like, is somebody walking in with me? Because like I don't know this person. And she goes, she literally says, "You're going to end up teaching a class here." And all these years later, after all this training that she gave me, I taught that class. And in under 20 hours, she left this world from an asthma attack at only 61 years old. So there were many, many miracles that I saw from her, and saw performed, and saw her know things, and you know what she told me about the angelics, and what she told me about being an angelic, and just like working with her in general. And like, I mean, even my Reiki lineage is unheard of. I've had people like spirits like, don't even say it, they're going to think you're lying. But Connie taught under one of the original 22 masters. Connie was taught by Barbara Brown. So it was Takata that brought it to Hawaii. Takata taught Barbara Brown. Barbara Brown taught Connie. So like, this is unheard of that I'm a 6th generation Reiki master, for how long ago that this work came from. But just learning Reiki and sitting with the angels and sitting in these circles. And I know sometimes the tarot can have a bad rap, but learning the tarot from her and actually figuring out how to traverse this reality and look at time as if, because that was one thing she taught that other card readers I don't see do. Like, other card readers drop cards and they go, "Oh my God, this is going to happen." Whereas like she taught me how to drop cards and say, okay, well, this appears to be in the future. So what do we need to do to, if this is awesome, bring it closer? And if this is something we consider bad or challenging, to remove it from the future cards. So having that ability was, and learning all that stuff was absolutely life altering.
Yeah. As
she got me reading these books and doing this work, and you know, kind of like figuring out things for myself, because it was very masculine, and let's go to the club, let's drink, let's do this and that. And I was just bored with normal, like what like many consider 3D life. I wasn't. I was just like, something's changing. Like, I don't want to do this. I want to like grow my hair out and just, I don't know. I just wanted to like meditate and get more in contact with God, original creator, universe, source, the angels, whatever your vernacular supports. It's all there. It's all out there. That's one thing I know for sure, through dream state work and all the work I've done. You know, we can see signs, we can see miracles. There's no shadow of a doubt. There's no argument to be had that, you know, there is some sort of spirit manifest in whatever way. And maybe we don't know exactly how that works, but it's definitely, that energy is there. So,
and you're really quick, just so everybody knows, you're like a clairdoll. Like, you see it, sense it, feel it, know it, all of it, right?
Yeah. That was an excellent question. Thank you, Stephanie, because that would help people to know how I know this stuff or see this stuff.
Yeah.
My third eye fully turned on. That was a lot of the reason I started doing this research. I thought something was wrong with my eyes. I was going to the doctor. I went to the skin doctor because I had like literally bumps behind each ear, which I still have. You won't be able to see it, but I have bumps behind, especially this ear, usually from when all the fluoride was detoxing out of my brain and out of my body. because being a personal trainer at the time, I had all the mathematical formulas. And what happened was having a well. So at my father's house, there was well water. And the well water just tasted better. Why did the well water taste better? Because there was less poison in it, or no poison in it, aka fluoride, arsenic, all the things that they're added to the water for our teeth. Okay. So I started keeping track of how much water I was drinking, because I know many of you know that add drinking water to your practice. It can be like end of the day, just be like, that's all I had. So I wanted to fill the same BPA-free water bottle, and I'm just doing this for months because I wanted to do it for me, for my body. It wasn't a spiritual thing. It was here's the amount of water, here's the amount of fat, here's the amount of protein, here's the amount of carbs, here's what's complex, this type of fat, that type of fat. When I love something and when I'm really into it, I really do a ton of research on it. And that used to be physical fitness. And it was the body that led me to the mind, and it was the mind that led me to my soul, or spirit, whatever, in the trifecta triangle of mind, body, spirit. But my third eye fully opened with my eyes open. Like my third eye works just with my eyes open. And this was from decalcifying my brain, decalcifying the third eye, and this frontal lobe, and what takes place from that. And through doing that work, Connie crosses over, and I read the book Opening to Channel. I should have screenshotted that, so I could have screen shared it. It's like a purplish pinkish book. It says Opening to Channel on it. I can't remember the author's name, but there's kind of like a mandala on it. And I read this book, and it says that when you're comfortable, step through this gateway. So you basically manifest this door, or you see this door that is there, and you open the door, and the whole book's like, oh, you might be really scared at this part. And I'm just like, boom, throw the door open. And the expression in the book was, when you step through the door, there's not going to be anything there. And you start to call forth high-level masters, and you have to basically say the right spell of who you'd want to see. So you can basically interview them. And the book even described to me, from what I remember, not just accepting the first guide that comes, and to just kind of do some interviewing, get their names, figure out stuff, sleep on it. And the words sleep on it are very powerful. We do, in my eyes, figure out and get answers on stuff while we sleep. So a little thing I can leave you guys with. If you have a major decision to make about a move or love or whatever it is, or finance, sleep on it. Tell yourself you're sleeping on it, and tell yourself you'll have the answer in the morning. So I step through the doorway, and there's already a guy waiting there, which this is very abnormal from what the book said. And I say, who are you? And he said, call me Sam. My name is Samuel Ward King. So I'm like, okay, that was very descriptive. I got a first, middle, last. I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting a one-word name of something that sounds more spiritual or something. It's every time we have expectations, what happens, So I'm talking to him, and I'm like, yeah, all right. I was like, interesting. So I step out of it. I was like, yeah, I'm going to sit with this, and I'll let you know if you're my spirit guide later. Because it wasn't by the protocol of the book, like I said. And I pop out of the meditation, which was very, very lucid and very vivid. And I hop over to my computer, and I swear to you guys, this is a true story. I type in SAMU, and it pops up in when it pops up in blue, like the suggestion from Google. I swear to you, it says Samuel Ward King in Rhode Island, this tiny little state I'm sitting in, while I type these words up. So I get there's a couple of times I had goosebumps on my eyelids. Sometimes we get them on our shoulders, on our back, on our neck. I was head to toe. It felt like my feet that were on the ground were stepping on goosebumps. My whole body, I was like, okay. I was like, what the heck is happening right now? How is this possible? And just a full-blown miracle, but also spirit did something there. And I know a lot of times we talk about something, and then we see it in our Facebook advertisements or whatever. Right.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, that's one thing, but I can tell you guys, it goes much further than that. I did not write this in a book. I did not say this out loud. I came out of the meditation. I type in SAMU. It doesn't suggest Samuel Adams Beer, Samuel L. Jackson, like, stuff that would make sense. It puts up this guy who's the next town down. As I'm in Lincoln, Rhode Island at the time, Googling this, Johnston, Rhode Island is where this guy was the mayor. This is actually a person that exists, and you can Wikipedia him, and he's a person. So after working with him for a while, which was one of the greatest experiences of my life, because, I went from feeling completely alone in this to having this guide who's joking around with me. He's there all day. He's kind of like, it wasn't the typical, like, how I would have expected having a guide with me all the time to be. It's like almost like sometimes he would like joke when I would say something silly, or like he'd be like, really? And it was nice to have him there. But one day I didn't realize what I was doing by asking this question. And because people would ask me all the time, they're like, how did you know to go left when the GPS said right? How did you know this? How did you know this? And I was like, I don't know. So one day I asked him, I go, when I ask you whether to go left or go right or go up or go down, why is that answer always correct? And he said to me, to bring it back to the angelic point, and this is where I was going. He said, I speak to my guardian angel, basically. And he said, some of you would refer to this being as a Pleiadian, but I basically look up through the ceiling and I talk to my angel, my guardian angel. I ask them, once you say left or right, it's like we're playing like a telephone game, basically. Right. And then his angelic would tell me whether to go left or go right. So I kind of like looked at him in the ethers that day and I go, well, why are you here then? Why don't I just ask my own angelic whether I go left or go right? And he's like, that's a very good question. And I was like, ooh, interesting. So it was like, damn, it was like, oh no, like my friend that's with me every day, now he's going to go away now. Like I could feel that process beginning, because it's like, that's
you graduated, right? I mean, it's
graduated.
Just to interject, it's kind of like this happened with Sheila Gillette channeling Theo. She didn't start with Theo because that's the 12 bandwidths of source, basically, these archangels that most of us now that do angel work can do access. But when we're starting out, it's like, let's just go softly. Let's just start with one bandwidth, like one little stream versus the whole thing, right? So it sounds like you were going through your own gradual access process.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And I'm just looking at Lisa's comment. She said she knew her teachings were in good hands. You're so absolutely right. I'm basically in front of a good like 20 some odd people, and during my Reiki 3 attunement with her, I saw a Merkaba star, and pardon my ignorance, world, I didn't know what this was at the time. So what I said to her when I came out of the attunement, which this woman is unimpressible. Like she knew, like her eyes were like, okay. Like she had this look like, I know everything. And like, but like, I'm humble about it. And this is the only time I ever shocked her. I'm holding the crystal ball. I'm getting the attunement done. She's walking around me in the circles. Like some of you know how the process works. And I see a 3D spinning the Merkaba fully in my third eye, like very, very bright. And I come to and I say to her, Connie, once again, pardon the ignorance. I said, I saw a 3D spinning Jewish star. And I was on the East Coast at the time, so I'm sure I said Jewish star. And she goes, she literally fell backwards. Like I had to like jump up and like catch her. Like I thought she literally stumbled backwards. And she's like, she catches herself and she goes, honey, that's called a Merkaba. You need to get home and research that right away. And that's what you're going to teach that class here on that I told you about when I met you. Mm-hmm. During that class, like, and this is like 6 months later, I did not just look at a picture of it. Like I had to sit with this for months, figure out how to use it, like actually learn how to use this light body technology to get out of my body. And even once I mastered it, it didn't work every day. I'll say that. There were some days where like, it was just, I don't know, the perfect recipe of galactic energy and my diet and hydration and posture. Who really knows, to be honest with you? But I know that some days it would work more than others. And once I'd gotten it to work a few times, I taught the class there on it. And it was about, just to validate this for you, Lisa, and everybody, it was about 45 minutes, an hour into the class. And I look at Connie in the crowd and she goes, and I'm in my head and I'm like, I know I got this. Like, I was like, I'm up here crushing. I'm like, spin the red, the orange, the yellow, the green, boom, boom. I'm explaining the whole thing, like, without missing a beat. It's not like I was nervous and I was like stuttering, or it was the beginning. She didn't nod to me in the beginning. So like what you're saying, she knew her teachings were in good hands. Absolutely. She's like, I taught him as much as I can. She probably could see all this. She could see all this social media stuff and like what I was going to do. Because when she gave me this nod, and I was like, that's weird timing and a weird nod. And why did she do that? It really really settled in once she was crossed over. Like, it was almost just like, oh my God, she knew. She was like, I can go now. So yeah, just to validate that for you. Thank you for saying that. You're absolutely right.
And I think what I'm getting from that story, Alexander, is that really, it's so beautiful how you're honoring your mentor and your teacher, because it's important, right? Because they're passing their wisdom on, and it's like, and we all have different mentors and teachers, and maybe multiples, right? And then it's up to us to continue that, right? So I know that's what you do, with your private groups, as do I, because they want to be, it's sacred wisdom, and there's that idea of the mystery schools. There's that idea of these secret institutions, but really it's because it's not always ready for the masses. The masses aren't really ready for it, I should say, because it could be in the wrong hands, not so great. So there's like almost like an energetic exchange that needs to happen, and the right mentors and the right pairings come together, based on what each individual is there to do and bring and be, I would assume, right?
Yeah.
So when you, going back to the angel questions, so when did you
that's
learn
what I was
about like the different levels, right? To continue that.
You know me, I'm kind of like angelic ADD.
No, I know, I get it. We know.
I still want to get back to the spirit guide. So my spirit guide, I asked him all these years ago. I talked to Samuel, and this is like, Connie's still alive. I think it was about 2010 or 2011. I was like in the middle of my Reiki process, and I don't even know if I started the tarot. And I had all this pain in my shoulders here and then down my shoulder blades. It was like really bad pain that I just figured maybe I clean and pressing or something. I injured something in the gym and it was just healing. And I asked him what this pain was. I asked my spirit guide, what is this pain? And he says to me, oh, yeah, you're going to think that's really crazy. I'm not going to say that. And I was like, no. Like, what is it? And he says, basically, your soul's asking you to release your wings out of your back. And I was like, yeah, you're accurate. I think it's really freaking crazy. And it's almost just like, if I set into that process, I was almost like afraid, like if somebody can read my mind, they were going to come take me away in a straitjacket. Like, I was actually scared with some of the stuff Spirit was telling me to do back then, which now it's like, I could care less. I just go live on the camera and I'm just like, here's what they're doing, But then I was just like, what? Like, I had a lot of barriers to break through. And so I end up starting this work, and I'm like, okay, I release my wings. I'm asking him more questions. I'm seeing what I got to do and how to do it. And I'm sitting at the bar eating breakfast by myself one day, how angelics used to back then, and at a breakfast place. And once again, I swear to God, this is a true story. Some woman walks in with obviously her nephew, and the child's about 2-3 years old. And I'm sure everybody out there has a story about this young child that can formulate speech, but the ego hasn't set in enough, and they're just like seeing their crossed over grandparents or performing a miracle. And this child looks at me, points, and I hear this clear as day, and he says, Auntie, how come that guy has wings? And this was the second and only other time in my life I had goosebumps on my eyelids. Like I said, like full body, top of the crown, under the feet, everywhere. And I was just like, so like Connie didn't even know this at the time. And like I got out of breakfast and I like called her and I was just like, Connie, I have wings coming out of my back that children can see. And she's like, yeah. Like she's like, once again, not phased. She's just like, yeah, that's what we're doing. That's what you're doing. So yeah, just to finish that. And then what was your question? Because I was like getting there.
Yeah, no, and I want to just validate that because I was having that when I was going through my awakening process, and I was the biggest skeptic about a lot of this stuff. And you live in LA, you've seen it all, you've done it all, in many ways. But I was relatively pure, considering I lived in LA. But I remember, somebody I had a massage therapist who was psychic saying, "You have the most gorgeous wings," and then I'd have another therapist say, "Oh yeah, you have these wings," and it was all like wing. It's just they were like, "Hello." But so just to tell you that I'm sure there's others in here that have had these experiences that can relate to us, but it can sometimes take a minute to own it, I guess is the best way to say it, and and just accept. But what my question was the differentiation. Like I had a woman who said to me, she sees angels all the time around LA and there's a bunch of angels here, and she's like, but you're like one of only a couple archangels I've seen here. And this was back when I was still running that frequency. And what does that mean? What does that look to you? I was curious, because I don't see like you see, and it's different how I know things. And she said, well, the wings are different. I'm like, really? Interesting. So I'm just curious in your perception, because again, I kind of look at everything comes through the lens of the instrument. How do you know? Like, how do you discern if you're seeing people like what they are? Oh, that's a Palladian, or that's an angel, or that's a Seraphim, or that, you know what I'm saying, basically.
Well, Seraphim, that's there's less of those stories. And I think the best one is when I met you. I just traveled from Sedona to LA. It was the next day. I didn't know if I was hungry or what was going on, but I came to your table because I was like, holy crap, I know this person and I don't know how or why I know this person. So I came to your table and I put my hands on the table while you were sitting there. I think you were helping with those Buddha people or whatnot. That's shop.
The Buddha tree, yeah.
The Buddha tree. Yeah, you were helping a Buddha tree that first time I met you. And I was just like, what's going on here? And when I walked away, I was on the elevator and I remember thinking to myself, like I had this like dizziness, like I almost passed out. And I said in my head, was it diabetic or hypoglycemic? I said, this is how hypoglycemic people feel. And I was just like, how strange. And then like, I kind of like put it off as I'm tired. I just drove 9 hours in traffic to get here. Like, whatever, maybe I'm hungry, talking to a lot of people. Like, it's like I'm in a new environment and meeting all these people.
Yeah.
So I didn't put two and two together. It happened right after I left your table. But then I'm talking to you the next day. And that was when I said it to you. And I was like, oh God, it's happening again. And you were like, what's happening again? And I was like, oh, I'm getting like, because this is like a feeling. Usually I see it. Like with the angels and the archangels, I see it. But with the Seraphim, it's an undeniable energy that I feel in my cell structure, in my gut, and in my heart. And I was just like, oh God, it's happening again. You're looking at me like, wait, what is it? And I go, oh, I'm super, super dizzy. And like, what the heck's going on right now? And you're like, oh, that's me. You're like, I'm like, just like kind of like sorting things out of your field. And it's such an excellent example when you said that, because as I tell you, I released this pain from my body by releasing these energetic wings out of my back. These wings are obviously not for, at least in that present moment, for flight of the body. Okay. These wings are symbolic or energetic in many ways, in different structures. And I've been asking those questions like, well, what is the point of me having these wings? Why do I have these wings? Why are these wings even visible? And what came through with all of that was, it's almost like having eyes behind your back in one way. If we want to think about it in a buffering energy manner, like, it's kind of like sometimes there's a car behind you and all of a sudden you get like it's almost unavoidable. And I don't even want to say you get the universal you or the royal you. That's one thing humanity has to, I would love for us all to work on, is when we're speaking, when we're talking about what's happening to us, we don't project it on the other person by saying you and it happens to you. So I don't want to be doing it myself. But I would notice in the past that I would go like this, and my shoulders would come up, and then I would look in the rearview mirror, and there is somebody riding my butt, or there is somebody 3 car lanes back that I know, like, for some reason doesn't like me. And these wings made it so I could literally like micro flutter them, like faster than wings move, and it would like dissipate the energy. Like the way I saw it is almost like a round auric field in front of us, and the wings represent the, how do they show it? The torsion field. Okay. So it's like, what came first, the chicken or the egg? What came first, the Merkaba or the torus? So this donut shape or this rodent coil or whatever the heck it's called that we see, I would see this sphere in front of me. And then once I started working with the wings, like say my profile's looking that way, I would see that the wings are basically creating this donut that's around me. But we can utilize that donut, and I would utilize that donut, and I would do things with these wings, and I would have miracles take place from people that aren't awake. And I remember I was doing a Reiki session on my friend Dan, like one of my best friends, which even just knowing him in general is a freaking miracle. I just really quick, I'll just say that when I was 30, I was at my 30th birthday party, and my mom goes, "Oh, I never told you Dan was there when you were born." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" Like, I met this kid when I was 17, and it turns out his dad was my dad's boss, and he was born in January, and I was born in August of the same year. And when my dad's like, "I can't go into work, my wife's in labor," he's like, as a good boss, brings his baby by, and he's like, "You have a baby, I have a baby, we're doing work together, like, here's the baby." He's like, "I met my best friend before I met my 2 older sisters." So like, once again, like, our lives are just filled with miracles if we pay attention for them. But Dan walks in with a cane one day, and Dan was very much so not one of my spiritual friends at the time, but this woke him up. He's walking and limping, and Samuel's like, "You can fix his leg right now." And I was like, if it's okay, if you'll allow me, I was like, "I can do a little bit of Reiki on your leg." And he's like, "Absolutely." He's like, "I don't know what that is, but yeah, let's do it." And I had my hands on his leg, and I'll never forget it. I felt a tendon move under my hand. We heard it click, and he instantly goes, like, looks at me like, "What the heck?" And he was almost just like, "It's better." And I go, I know what you're thinking. Please let me finish. So I left my hands there another 5 minutes, and then I stood up, and this was like one of the first times I used my wings. And I put one on his upper back and one on his lower, and I was just standing there. And he said afterwards, he goes, "What were you doing at that part where you just stood there?" He goes, "I felt weightless." And I was like, "Oh my God, how awesome." And like, at that point, I had no idea what I was doing. I just, Sam was saying my angelic, because at this point I was like conversing with the 2 of them. And ironically, my angel turned out to be on an angle. So like, this is like me getting towards answering that question that you asked all that time ago now. Like, the spirit just wanted me to do this, and it was just part of what I needed to do. And it was so validating for me, for him to say, "I felt weightless," when I was like, well, synchronistically enough, I put wings around you. So it's funny you felt weightless. So as I remember,
just to confirm that and give some reflection, I remember going back to Conscious Life Expo where we first met, just so everyone knows who knows that. It's a lot of a cosmic soup. And I remember there was, I gave you this hug, and I remember you got high, right? And I think there's something about the Seraphim elements that are almost like elevators that take you and travel, like we're able to take people and transport them. I kind of see us as transporting agents, like Julie Cruise directors, like, "Come on board, we're going to take you on the love ship," and it's going to go like to wherever, right? But other dimensions. But there is an element of that, I believe, that what's happening, what I'm getting from that experience that you just shared, was I almost saw you taking him into another version of him, popping that version, and then bringing him back in, so he was aligned to a different dimensional. Does that make sense?
You're absolutely right. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Because that was the main gist, was giving him like basically like, and I'm talking to the hug angel herself, giving him a wing hug. Like that's actually what's written in my book, because this was such a miracle. I have this record book, which is ironically a record that was recycled and turned into a book. Like they like cut up records, and like I just had this book on hand, and it was the only like book I could have used as a journal. When I needed a journal, I started using this book from Urban Outfitters. That's like an old like waltz record.
I know the book you're talking about. That's funny.
Yeah, and I didn't realize I was keeping a record book. But I wrote in there, like, I don't know, a wing hug. Like I hugged him with my wings, and like he felt it. Like I remember talking about the process, because at first, you know how it is. Like sometimes we have a conversation with somebody, whether it's an argument or a loving conversation, and like there's integration to do from what happened. And sometimes we need 5 minutes, 20 minutes, and sometimes we need a week or a month to actually turn our feelings into words. So I didn't know exactly what was happening. I just knew like Spirit's like, hug them with your wings. And like, you have these wings, use them. And when I used them, it was instantly validated. And at the end of that, he gets up and he just puts the cane back in his car. And he's like, this is crazy. And I was like, yeah, it is pretty crazy. Like I've had some cool stuff happen where I know things about people in Reiki sessions, and like they've reported feeling better and like headaches going away. But I never like actually felt a bone click back into place under my hands. So it was just a full blown miracle for the two of us. And it was like what we both needed at that point. But as I started to work with this angel, Samuel goes out. It was, it was just time. It was basically like his helping me. I helped him to earn his wings from what karmas, if you will, he created while he was alive. Right. And that's a story for another day. I don't even get into right now. Right. But he helped me, and then therefore I was helping him, and there was an equal exchange. But once that exchange was done, I had to like watch my friend walk away down the tunnel. And it's like, you know, I'm showing my age here, even though I wasn't even alive when the show came out. But it's almost like that scene from the Incredible Hulk show, when he like keeps like walking, and he's walking with his bag, and I was like, ah. And he's like looking back, like, you want me to come back? And I'm like, no, you can't, keep going. I was like, stop making this awkward. Don't look in my eyes, you know? But from that point on, it was like working with my angel, and whether we're talking about this from a dimensional standpoint or whatnot, as I worked on my angel, it was like, okay, now you've integrated that. Now release another 2 wings. And now you're becoming an archangel, which is angel, archangel. It made the frequency more extreme of where I saw this stuff, whether or not that's where it is, or whether it's not. From my soul wanted to make it easier for me to understand by being able to see these aspects of myself when I have a certain spot where my dragon is and my angel is and whatnot on an angle. So now more wings are coming in. Yeah. Right.
So would you say it's like, and I kind of put it this way, so we're just, again, kind of connecting dots within the summit.
Yes.
Would you say it's almost like when you graduate to that, it's like you're now running a governance. It's almost like because you're arcing over more energy, right?
Yes. And also think about it in the grand scheme of a bird and say a dragonfly. And I know like the hummingbird can float in the air, but there's this extreme speed that they're moving their wings. And a hummingbird's almost even, I believe it's considered an insect, actually, biologically. But once a creature has 4 wings, now there's this like levitation thing taking place, this floating, because it's a dragonfly can just go, ooh, but a fly can't do that. Like a fly has to move somewhere and come back. And that was like, you know, why I'm getting what I call a feather. Let me get some water. Sometimes I feel like I'm saying too much or the wrong thing, and I'm losing people. And Spirit's like, give him a feather.
I want to actually just check in.
It's like there's this energetic, like giant feather that comes down my throat.
Hold on, I'm just going to check in to see, because we have some questions coming in. I want to make sure
let's get into. We got to get into the questions soon. Anyways, we're already at 40 minutes, and I know.
Yeah, but I want to see, like, just so we don't miss anything as we're going, because sometimes by the time, you know what I'm saying.
No,
so this question comes in. Lisa asks, do you feel that we have to work one-on-one with the teacher to release our wings, so to speak, or is setting the intention enough to bring the experience?
Setting the intention is plenty. Yeah, setting the intention is plenty, Lisa. My teacher did not tell me about that. That was something I figured out on my own by asking questions about my pain. So that's one of the main reasons I brought that up to everybody, is a lot of times there were pains that were coming through my body, which were essentially ascension symptoms. Because something else the angels are huge on, and I really don't hear many speak of other than myself, but they've had me working on like what's called like angelic posture for years now. Like my shoulders are backing down, my chest is up, like is my neck back and not forward. And I'll be honest with you, as we fix our posture, it can hurt. Plain and simple. I don't even want to say it out loud because I don't want to manifest that for people, but getting our body back into form from like this, like, you know, mangled position that we sometimes holding up our phone all day and looking downwards, like having everything in alignment so the spinal cord is stacked right. Because the way it was explained to me was like, picture, and I know some people aren't into the chakras, but picture at the bottom of our spinal cord is an antenna, and that antenna goes up. And the more we get in alignment with that antenna, the more information that can easily come up or down or from left or right, uploads, downloads, whatever the heck it is, side loads, as you were saying the other day, like regardless of what angle the information comes from, when we get true information, one of the biggest things was angelic posture. And I've had plenty of people like look at me like when my posture was perfect, I didn't know why I was doing it because I was just like going through an ascended moment. And they would look at me and be like, why are you sitting like that? Like, why are you way on the edge of the couch and your posture's perfect and your chest is up? And I was like, I started to be able to answer that question. Like a lot of the questions we're able to answer are answered because somebody asks us and we're like, good question. And we sit with it. And we get that information to come in. But
really quick.
Yeah.
So just, I want to just focus for a second on the wings again. Because I hear you and I agree with you. Posture is a lot. And for me, 6'2", you're tall too. It's like not always easy when we have these taller frames to keep everything, you know. But Lisa's saying she's in wing pain right now. And I just want to say, Lisa, as Alex and I have been sitting here, I'm just like, you keep seeing me probably do this.
Yeah, you keep probably seeing me do this.
And it's been in pain for a couple of days through the summit. So there's activations through all this experience of light. And I would say give yourself permission for it. Like, you know, what you're asking is about intention is everything. Make the decision that, it's easy to open up my wings and maybe make some micro adjustments there.
Because, I'll tell everybody
we're definitely getting some wing upgrades.
When we see the Army commercial, and they're standing like this, like at attention with their hands, your hands like that behind your buttocks, okay? That is going to force the body. There's a reason that we're seeing them stand like that in the Army or the military commercial. That's called at attention. I'm not saying you have to stand like that all the time. Right. But as a personal trainer, what was taught to me, one of the first chapters was on postural assessments, giving people postural assessments and seeing how they can fix that. Because you can't load up a bar on somebody's back and have them squat weight if their posture isn't right to begin with. So there was a journey to begin with a person in posture. And like, what did we have? Like years ago, there was like kind of that like grumpy grandma that society doesn't have anymore. That she's like, sit up straight at the table, get your chin up. And she was right. She was right. If we listened to grumpy grandma, there would be so many less people in pain and so many more people ascending. She was accurate. So if you had that vibration in your life, send her some love. She knew intuitively. That was some mother's intuition for sure. But on the day, why I'm saying all this, on the day that you go to check and you put your hands behind your butt and you put your shoulders back, okay, you shouldn't have to put your shoulders back. Like if I go like this, I can do it. Okay. So that is an excellent habit for anybody to start. And that's a habit I've been talking about from way before I was awake. When I was just personal training, was like, I would have my people check to see if their posture was good. Because what a lot of you at home will realize is you have to like stand up straight and you have to adjust to do that. And you should not have to adjust to do that. And that's like step one of angelic posture. So I would start there, because there's literally, like,
The other thing is slouching back and like sometimes sitting up like this, just kind of rocking.
And this is why, like, some people, like, you see them and like they get laughed at and people are like, you're weird. And it's like the people in the office building that have the exercise ball, you slump, you slouch, you fall on the freaking ground. So those people with the exercise ball on the wheels, once again, accurate, they're forcing their core to engage. What is the core in the dictionary? The central most important piece. So if you're going to start with your posture, I would do here, like where your heart is, because it's a lifelong practice, I believe, really. I mean, I'm still like, my feet go more than 10 degrees out, and what shoulder is slightly up from the other. And like, even this practice of getting my neck, this is what Spirit's been on my butt about, is having my neck like properly stacked. And it's like, when I first did it and I was like walking around, I was like, I look so stiff and weird.
Yeah, no,
and that went away.
Yeah.
It got to the point where it's like, it's still a little stiff and a little weird. And I had to keep consciously bringing my head back. When you first do it, it's almost like there was pain in the front of my chest. And I was
this is a major issue. I want to just say this.
Oh, it's massive.
This is a major thing for angelics, because our spine gets worked so hard with all the different arcs or chakras. And I think for me, and we're always expanding and bring more light, and it's just stretching, and the cells and the DNA, everything, right? And so I just want to say, yeah, it's, and Alexander gets on my case and exercise, and it's one of the hardest things for me to do, because there's so much mental and spiritual and emotional that I'm supporting. But it's important to know that when I went through my awakening process, I mean, I was on the floor unable to walk sometimes because my spine was getting so hit and lit. So just know that if you go through these, these expansions, I have body mechanics that work on me. I have masseuses that come and like adjust me and do things, and chiropractic. I've had to do it all. Yeah. And it's a major factor in the angelic awakening ascension process for sure. But her next question for you is, where's the second set of wings? And I would say, or third or fourth or fifth or whatever, but they go from there. But where's the second set?
I get the thumbs up. I was gonna say, I'm gonna have Buddha be the Buddha's gonna be the example. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
So they would be right here, and then they would be right here. So it would almost look like a hexagon when all six are in. But the first two are almost at the top of like where the bone is in your shoulder blade. Like if you felt with your hands, or you, massage mom or dad's back, or your lover, like there's this part, and then it goes straight right here, like right in there is where this like kind of like 1 inch protrusion is coming out, where the first set of wings is coming out. And then, so that would be right around here and here, or here and here. And
like
then
the gallbladder point, I would think, too, in the shoulder blade area.
It's slightly off to the side, but down on an angle, like probably like that. It's not a perfect hexagon for me, but it's like somewhere around, like if one was here, the other was starting here. Right. And this is for this, like I said, this is us having this ascension process. And why this all became so evident to me as I look at actually his name right here. We hear about this person called Enoch ascending from the point of being a human being to getting to the point of being a seraphim through the spiritual work that he did. So and I know Stephanie's noticed this too, we just don't want to see people limit themselves by like overly, like only like paying attention to the angels or the archangels or a certain regard, when we have the capacity and the capability to ascend beyond these beings. Yeah. And these beings are existing to help us get to a certain point. This one's here to teach. This one's here to make you feel safe and to clear the field. This one's here to help you get in touch with what type of healer you are. I love them. I love freaking Gabriel. Get out of here. Like, oh my God. Raziel, Sandalphon. Like, I love them. But it's like at the same time, it's like, and like, not to bring up the Bible, but even like Christianity teaches that we're not supposed to worship these aspects. Right. And the more I sat with these aspects, I realized that they were addresses of myself.
Right.
It's almost like this is a place that I can get to and I can go to where I can access this ability. And I believe that we're accessing that ability because part of us in that present moment believed that we didn't have an ability that we do have right now. So, and like,
Questions.
yes, please.
I know we want to, because we have more questions, but I want to ask you a
No, yeah,
question about
let's
the
get through
dragon
them.
connection.
Just
So dragon
randomly back
Titan,
in because I'll go on a tangent. Yep.
Titan, right? So the dragon factor. So Seraphim
Yes,
dragons connection. What is your take on that?
I'm very big in the words. I'm very big in, we were taught how to spell grammar, grimoire. The older generations were taught to connect the letters of the spell, and this was called cursive. The words very clearly being spells, and looking at the etymology and seeing what the etymology means, or breaking down the word myself. You might even realize, like about 20 minutes ago, I didn't say understand because I don't stand under anybody. I said innerstand. And that word still could use some work. Like maybe it's inner fly or outer fly, or I don't know. We have to be able to communicate in a way that people still know what we're saying, right? Yeah. But a lot of the words, it's been like a practice that I truly enjoy, and I find new stuff every day, limiting or not. But with the Seraphim, Sera actually breaks down to serpent, and Phim means fire. So this is like almost like this process of, once again, like the chicken and the egg or whatever it is, where the phoenix rises from the ashes. So this is like an angelic dragon. This is a dragon to me with feathers. Because like, why does it all of a sudden go to these, like the diamond light, when me and Stephanie started having the diamond light come in with no communication? Like that was like some of the times, like me and Stephanie would be like, all right, it's time for our monthly powwow on the phone. And we would get on the phone and talk about our downloads, and we're both like, what the heck? Like, it's like we would take turns being like, what the heck? Like, this is how I saw it. And this is what, and that was one of those times that like I was really floored with you on the phone, Stephanie, when I was like, I'm seeing all these little diamonds, but not like diamonds cut in a wedding ring, like just straight up diamonds, like would be on a deck of cards. Mm-hmm. And you were like, what the heck? You like, it was like one of those like crazy moments. And what was that now? Like 2017, like 18. Mm-hmm. We've been like talking about that and sharing it with people for years now. But with the Seraphim, it's an ascension process of reaching beyond. And I know this might be triggering for some. I think there's a certain level of what I would consider shadow integration that's necessary. Certain aspects of the self or belief structures that we think are evil to truly ascend in this duality matrix that we're probably not even in anymore, but there still is a certain level to do where we have to look at our fears and we have to look at certain things, which is like, this is in no way, shape, or form how I want to end off this presentation, this broadcast. But I will tell you that there were times where I was looking at things that scared me or I didn't like about myself, and I thought I got rid of them, and I never did. I had to truly sit with them and see why they were there, and realize that, these different aspects of the ego, if you will, are there to protect the mind, the body, or the soul. If somebody's saying something to us and we have to actually verbally say like, no, stop saying that. Like, stop saying that. It's like there's this old expression, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. And that's not the case. We live in a multidimensional reality in my eyes. And when somebody says something, whether it's possible or not, you can feel it. You empaths out there, you can feel your stomach turning. You can feel your body beginning to get nauseous when somebody's saying something you wish they wouldn't. You can feel the heart sink in the body. And it's sometimes up to us to put up our hand and block that out. Just ask them politely to stop, or plain and simple. Like, I've actually seen people actually get physical because the body's made of water. It's like Iamoto's work. That's one thing that science has proven. When we freeze water that we sent love into, it's got beautiful crystal structures. And when we send hate into water, the water is defragmented and looks terrible. So if somebody's standing in front of you and they either have the ability to bless your water or to deteriorate that water that is 75% of your body. And we can feel that, especially the Lakota and the empaths and the high empaths and all my family out there that feel, and without a shadow of a doubt, you're not thinking it, you feel it and you know it. And those are those absolute truths that when we were younger, and we crossed those boundaries with ourselves, where it's like, oh, my gut's telling me not to go out, but I'm going to go out anyway. And someone gets in a fight, or someone gets in a car accident, or something happened that it was like, you weren't supposed to be here. Your soul told you not to be here. Your gut told you not to be here. Your cell structure, which is an antenna to the original creator of your soul, told you not to be here, but you came. And now, like, and once again, that's still a miracle. Those are still miracles. And those are still like awakening points that we can reach in our lives to say, like, wow, how cool. I don't go. I went and I was punished for it. So once again, I don't think any of those situations that are points of awakening or points of realizing, wait a minute, I've got some work to do, some integration to see how this all works. But yeah, that's a loaded question. That could have been this whole thing, Stephanie.
Yeah, I mean, I think
I need to scratch the surface of shadow integration and just leave it there.
Yeah. But I think, basically, the dragon seraphim connection, what I'm getting is,
yeah,
and I'm going to just succinctly say it and see if you agree with this, because I know it'll spark you to go into another stream maybe. But my interpretation, because there's some confusion sometimes for people, is that a lot of the things that give us our greatest power as far as our electrical energy. In fact, Alexander and I were joking how our hair gets all like crazy because of our electrical energy, and it just starts to do stuff. But my feeling is that the dragon, right, this idea of the reptilian version of dragons that breathe fire and we have to slay them, and all that concept is a conscious insert to keep us out of the actual power that these seraph fiery energetics of source that are like the architects of creation are flowing in all the time, that we can basically, if we give permission, start to utilize and empower within ourselves, like you're saying, with the ascension process of Enoch and everything. Like, why limit ourselves? But also with an amount of grace and patience to not just fire yourself up to the point where you're burning the suit out, of course. Mm-hmm. But I would say the dragons to me really are just another way of saying we are an empowered being of wisdom and light that is here to transform this world and other worlds potentially as well. But it's a multidimensional factor, and we're just an instrument of it as it's in the human form here, right?
Yeah, when I was doing my soul retrieval work one day, I had to go into a certain place that I guess most would consider the underworld. Mm-hmm. And I had to go somewhere to get certain thing that was left somewhere or taken by somebody and brought somewhere. I'm saying this as quickly as I can to not fill up a bunch of time with the story, but when I first had to go into this place that would be more considered the underworld, I got all ready to go with my angelic armor and all like shiny and the wings coming out of my back and the hair down. And I go land with my spear and my bow and arrow. And I'm like, I'm here for the thing. And it was like almost like all the imps and like all the crap in the underworld was like, like it was like, they were like, look at this Jagaloon. Like, what is he doing? Like, we're not going to let you in. So through doing these sessions, I realized I had to sometimes access different bandwidths, like I would say, like we have AM and FM on the radio. Mm-hmm. And just because you go to FM doesn't mean that AM doesn't exist anymore, that radio signal. So I started to realize I needed to be on AM or FM to be able to go into certain places to almost blend in.
Right.
And that is
undercover angels, right?
What is it?
It's like being an undercover angel.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And some of this stuff was straight up taught to me, full-blown miracles. I have worked with the Virgin Mary my whole life, my whole spiritual life, at least. She was the first full-bodied apparition I had in my room when I was just waking up, 2009. And even my birthday, August 22nd, is the Queenship of Mary. It's the day that the Roman Catholics celebrate her becoming the ruler of heaven throughout time and space. But she'd come to me and teach me things at certain times. And she was the one who showed me these beings that when I Googled them, they actually existed. And what she showed me in my third eye was right there on the internet doing what I said they do. And these were like more connected to, I guess, like Muslim religion or culture. Mm-hmm. It was more like Middle Eastern. And it was like, still, she taught me this, and she was like, she showed me this word, afriti, and like what it meant, and how I had to be like one of these, like almost like a precious, like, you ever see something so ugly it's cute? Yeah. Like this like mer monster that like with these big eyes, and like he was like so sweet, and I was like, what am I even looking at? And she's like, this is the form you got to take to get into this place that we need you to get into. And that served a time and a place in my own integration as well, because there was obviously a little bit of fear. And that was something that as I worked and as I ascended through this reality, or through the previous realities that we've already gone through, things did get to the point where I did not need to wear these masks. I do want to let you guys know that as well. I'm not still doing that work. I'm speaking from my ascension process.
Yeah,
the best way that I can help everybody is by hearing this stuff and going like, oh my God, he's talking about when this happened to me, or like, wow, that's why that didn't happen the way I expected it to. So.
Well, this has been a pleasure. I want to say this before we close, that, you know, Alexander has been with me through certain, let's just say, missions that we were doing in 2020, right? And we do different stuff periodically where we go up and we're like finding gates that need to be open, you know, all sorts of stuff, which we don't have time to get into right now. No. But we created, we created a show, essentially a YouTube channel called Seraphim Source. And this kind of chat, like we've been having, is kind of what we do over there. And so you're welcome to find us at seraphimsource.com as well if you enjoyed this. But you know, we know who we are on other dimensional levels. We've known each other for many lifetimes, and we're family. And just like family does, it's like we argue sometimes and we love each other sometimes. And it's just how it is, right? And the beauty is that ultimately what I know is that we are here as guardians of this world, and Alexander hasn't even scratched the surface of what he's done when he goes and does grid work, and you know, all the things that we do as Seraphim, and even more, let's just say that. But I just want to thank you and just honor you, Alexander, for all the work that you've done in the past, however long, decades really, to get to this place of now, to be part of what we're doing here in the summit, to just be guardians of light, unified for peace, right? To really up level, right? And really switch on the switch to say, okay, Diamond Earth's coming out of Harmonic Earth, whatever we want to call it, New Earth, and really anchor that here together. And that you've been a part of it is very instrumental. So I just want to honor you in that and thank you.
Thank you so much.
All your stories of awakening and
thank you for everything you've done, and being there to let me know I'm still on the right timeline throughout when we were traveling through all those timelines. I appreciate you so much. That's
funny. Yeah, Alexander would be like, are we still like, oh good, you're still
I would like test you. I would be like, when you were a little kid, it was mirror, mirror on the wall in the Snow White movie, right? And you were like, yeah. Like I'd have to test you with Mandela effects.
Yeah, I know.
If you were ever like, no, it's magic mirror, I probably would have melted in tears and been like, I'm alone again.
So, Alexander, I invite you to go into the private lounge after this, because there is a question here we didn't get to, Diana's question. I'm just going to give it to you so you have a moment to think about it. But unfortunately, we have to end our call or our session. The question is, what supplements do you recommend in general and/or for ascension symptoms? And Diana, since you're a VIP, Alexander can go answer that question for you personally and give you some guidance, maybe.
I'll call you afterwards just to see how to find that lounge, because I don't know.
Well, I'm going to show you when we get off. It's really easy. Okay. It'll be easy. All right.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Love you all. We will be back here. Yeah, we'll be back here in 4 p.m. for Karis Melina Brown, where she'll be talking about, are you an angelic starseed? So that'll be fun. Kind of ties in. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Alexander, for being here. Much love to you all. And we'll see you soon.